Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another lecture session on business communication. In today's lecture, we're going to discuss some crucial topics related to the oral communication in businesses. So, we're going to talk about interpersonal communication, types of interpersonal communication, which includes interview, presentation, meeting, group discussion, and as well introduction to the interview, definition of interview, types of interview, essential features of an interview, and purposes of interview. So in this lecture session, we're going to target and talk more in details about the interview. In upcoming lectures, we're going to discuss presentation, meeting, and group discussion. So let's proceed and talk more further in details about interview. Before we're going to define the interview, so what is interpersonal communication? It says that interpersonal communication is a face-to-face interaction or a face-to-face communication between two or more people. It means interpersonal communication can happen between groups or maybe individuals, and it has some benefits for us. Through interpersonal communication, the communicators or the people who are interacting, they have the opportunity to gain immediate feedback and make their decisions. Now, coming to the first element of the interpersonal communication, which is the interview. What is an interview? Let's introduce. An interview is an interpersonal communication between two or more people. It means in interviews there are some parties who are included: the interviewer, the person who conducts the interview, and interviewee, the person who gives the interview. And also, the interviewer are asking questions from the interviewee. And the basic purpose of interview is to gain information or to assess the knowledge of an interviewee, the one who is applying for a job, the one who wants to fill a gap in an organization. So the interviewer, through asking questions, assessing the quality, the educational level, experience of the interviewee. We can define interview in several ways. There are some definitions of interview. Number one, an interview is a formal meeting in which a person evaluates or consults another person. It means in formal organizations, when the organizations want to hire or recruit the employees. So the organizations need to evaluate or assess the skills of the prospective employees, those employees that they in future can be the employees of the organization. So for better understanding, for knowing the experience of the interviewee, it's important to have a formal meeting with the interviewee and know about his or her abilities. Interview can be defined as an oral tool. Interview is a source or a techniques to test a candidate's traits or characteristics for employment or for admission to an institute. You may have attended interviews for jobs. Even in job interviews, your skills and abilities are tested. Your traits and characteristics are tested. Or even if you're applying for an educational institute or university. So some educational centers or institutes, they have a criteria for admission that they are conducting interviews with the students. Interviews can happen or can take place in various forms because mostly the interviews, they have different purposes. That's why we are describing the interviews in a variety of ways. So interview might be conducting for gaining information, for testing the abilities of the people, because the goals of the interviews, they are different. So according to the goals of the interview, we need to arrange the interview which match or which can gain our goals. If we discuss shortly the goals of the interviews from the organizational perspective, so we can say that there is much competition now in markets, and the organizations, they are offering limited vacancies for a large number of the employees, or for the people who are interested to join the organization. So the purpose from the organizational perspective is this: in order to meet and talk and also discuss and evaluate the employees and try to select and hire the best individuals for the success of the organization. If we come and discuss types of interview, so there are lots of types of interviews, but we're going to discuss some of the most important. The first one, that's selection interview. As the name implies or suggests, an interview which is conducted by the organizations, the business organizations and institutes, in order that they are going to employ some people for the announced vacancies or positions that they have in their organization. So it's very much important for the employer of the organization to conduct interviews with the employees, with the prospective employees, those that in future they may become the permanent employee of the organization. And they are, because of what, the purpose for both of them is clear. Both of them, they want to fill a gap. The employee wants to get the opportunity to work, and the employer wants to select the right candidate, the talented and capable candidate for the job. Mostly the business organizations, through this type of interview, are checking and testing the potentials of the interested recruits and also assess them. Because this is a selection interview, which is also called a job interview, in which the employer or the business organizations want to select the right person for the right job at the right time. And the employees are selected based on their attitude, their experience, educational level, and also based on their answers. If the answers of the employee are satisfactory, so those individuals will be selected. The next type of interview is the promotion interview. As the name clearly suggests, as promotion means going from one level to another level. So inside the business organizations, promotion interviews are also taking place. And normally the promotion interviews are conducted by the organizations, the top level management, the executives and the CEOs, especially for those individuals that they have the abilities and potentials and they want to move on in the hierarchy level, or in the hierarchy level of the management, and they want to face another responsibility and move on in the management positions. In this type of interview, which is conducted normally by the executives or top management of the organization, they are assisting those candidates that they want to promote, to check their abilities and see their commitment, and evaluate whether they have the skills and abilities to be promoted or not. And also, the one who is applying for this type of interview and want to give this type of interview, I'm talking from the employee perspective. So the employee should show strong commitment, experience, and attitude to be promoted. The next one is the exec interview. The interview which lets the employees to withdraw or to leave the organization. So this type of interviews are also conducted by the organizations from those employees that they are going to resign or retire. The main purposes and goals of these type of interviews are that the organization wants to know about the causes, about the reasons that why the employees are resigning and why they're leaving the organization. Because The organization wants to know about those reasons and they want to improve and bring corrections. Because the employees that they are going to resign from the current organization, there are some reasons for them. So the current organization, employers and top management wants to conduct an interview with those that they want to leave and quit their jobs. Because the organization wants to gain important information of finding the weaknesses of the organization, and also they want to get the opportunity to improve those weaknesses. Coming to the essential features of an interview, what are the qualities and what are the features and characteristics that commonly in our interviews they are shared? Number one, there is a defining purpose. It means each interview is conducted based on a defined purpose. It means each interview is a goal-oriented. So it's important for both parties, for the interviewer and also for the interviewee, to know and understand the purpose of the interview. Number second, both the parties need to prepare for communication. While the interviewer is conducting an interview, or the interviewee is giving an interview, so both sides, they need to prepare themselves, and there are some preparation plans for them, which we are going to talk about those preparation plans in our upcoming session. All interviews are pre-arranged. It means the interview should be arranged before. There are some exceptional cases where interview can be taken place without the arrangements, like a dismissal interview. There are at least 2 participants in the events. It means an interview is a type of meeting in which the 2 parties, in the presence of 2 parties, is important. The interviewer and interviewee. In most cases, the interviewer party may just include more people, like it can be a group interview. Fifth, there is a clear exchange of information. It means it's common in all interviews that the interview should have a clear exchange of information between the 2 sides. The purposes of interview. Why the organizations or the individuals they are conducting interviews. The first, counseling. Mostly the organization, the supervisors, the top managers, they are conducting the interview in order to counsel, in order to ask some related questions to the work problem that the employees are facing in the organization. Or in other cases, we can say that interview may be conducted by a doctor, by a psychiatrist, by a psychologist in order to treat a patient. The next purpose of the interview is evaluating. Evaluating means assessment. So, the managers or the performance appraisal managers or the HR managers in an organization having the responsibility to evaluate, assess the employees time to time in order to review their performances, in order to review their working processes. Third, disciplining. This type of interview is also conducted in organizations because each organization has some disciplines, rules, principles, and regulations. And employees, they have to respect, they have to implement, and they have to follow the rules. So, time to time, the managers, they are conducting the disciplining interview. If the behavior of an employee requires action to maintain discipline, so they will conduct this type of interview with the employee. Fourth, complaining. So if complaint happens inside the organization, so the managers, they are just interviewing both sides, the one who complained and the one who was complained against, in order to find the reasons. Or sometimes it happens that the management of the organization having complained against the employee of the organization because of the dissatisfaction from the employee. The last purpose of the interview is terminating. It happens when the organization is laying off, terminating, or giving X to the employee. So they are conducting an interview with the a targeted employee in order to inform him about his termination from the job and tell him the reasons.